I swear to God, the night this started still replays in my head like some sick movie. One message. One video. And suddenly, my whole life turned into a ticking bomb I didn't know how to defuse. Throwaway for obvious reasons. I'm 22M, living in a 2-bedroom apartment that's barely big enough for me, let alone for what's happening now. My brother, let's call him D, is 34M. He's the kind of older brother who's always been more like a second father than a sibling. He's steady, disciplined, takes care of business. I've always looked up to him. And then there's his wife, A. She's my age. 22. When he first introduced her to the family, I honestly thought it was some kind of prank. Like, why would a guy in his mid-30s, career-driven, serious, end up with someone who looks like she could have been in my college classes? But hey, it's their life. They seemed happy, and that was all that mattered. Fast forward, they bought a new apartment together, but it's currently under renovation. Dust, bare walls, no plumbing, basically unlivable. Meanwhile, my brother's job has him in Moscow almost all the time. He comes back once a month, sometimes every couple weeks, just long enough to check in, kiss his wife, see the kids, and then he's gone again. So guess where A's staying during all this? Yep. With me. At first, it wasn't a big deal. She brought her kids, filled up the spare room with boxes, set up their little routines. I thought of myself as just doing my brother a favor. Keep his wife and her children comfortable until their apartment's ready. Simple, right? But nothing about this situation has been simple. The first weird crack appeared one night after the kids had gone to bed. I was in the kitchen, the cheap overhead light buzzing faintly, sipping coffee I didn't even want. I walked in quietly, almost like she'd been waiting for the moment the apartment got still. She sat down across from me, chin in her hand, staring like she was about to tell me a secret. We started talking. At first, it was normal bills, noisy neighbors, whether the renovations would actually be done this year. I joked about how the hallway smelled like cabbage 24/7. She laughed. I laughed. It felt harmless. But then she shifted the subject in a way that made me sit up straighter. Everyone has fetishes, she said, like it was a casual fact of life. Things they want but don't say out loud. Do you? I froze. I'm not the type to open up about that stuff, especially not with my brother's wife. But she was looking at me like she already knew the answer. Before I could even dodge, she hit me with it. Are you attracted to me? Dead serious. No smirk, no nervous laugh. Just calm, sharp, waiting. And me, being an absolute idiot, I didn't lie. I said yes. Because she's attractive. Objectively. And pretending otherwise felt dumb. Her reaction? A slow nod. Like I'd confirmed something she'd already decided. Good, she said. Because I'm attracted to you too. I want to. But I won't. I'm a coward when it comes to cheating. Those words cracked the air open. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I remember sitting there, trying to reset reality. This was A. My brother's wife. Living in my house. Sitting 3 feet away from me in a sweatshirt and messy hair, sipping my coffee like she hadn't just detonated a bomb between us. I told her, then we don't think about it. Ever. She gave this little shrug, like she wasn't convinced. Like she already knew that wall wasn't going to hold. And that's when everything changed. After that night, she started acting different. She'd catch me looking in her general direction and call it a hint. I'd crack a dumb joke and she'd whisper, "Stop. You'll make me lose control." Even when I was doing literally nothing unusual, she'd accuse me of sending signals. Meanwhile, I wasn't chasing her. I wasn't plotting to steal my brother's wife. If she were single, sure, maybe I'd have made a move. But she wasn't. And I had zero intention of crossing that line. At least, that's what I believed back then. But what I didn't know, what I couldn't even imagine, was how far she was willing to take things. How twisted she really was under the surface. Because that night in the kitchen? That was just her opening move. And the video I got later. That was the first taste of the trap she was setting for me. After that kitchen conversation, I told myself it was just a slip. A weird late-night talk that we'd both pretend never happened. But A didn't pretend. She acted like the words were still hanging in the air between us, vibrating every time we spoke. At first it was subtle. She'd linger too close when brushing past me in the hallway. Her hand would accidentally graze mine when reaching for a mug. Her laugh got louder, sharper, when I said something dumb. It was like she was setting a stage and I was trapped as the unwilling co-star. And here's the kicker, she never admitted she was starting it. No, she flipped it back on me. Every tiny, normal thing I did suddenly became proof I was the one chasing her. Example, I poured myself cereal one morning. Just cereal. She walked in, sleepy, wearing an oversized t-shirt, and caught me mid-bite. "See," she said, smirking. "You're doing it again." "Doing what?" I asked, milk dripping off the spoon. "Sending hints." I nearly choked. "I'm eating breakfast." "Exactly," she whispered, brushing past me. "That's how it starts. I swear, she was playing some game only she knew the rules to. But it didn't stop at playful comments. One night, maybe a week later, I came home late from work. The apartment was dark except for the glow of the TV in the living room. I was on the couch, curled up under a blanket, scrolling her phone. The kids were asleep. My first thought was, finally, some peace and quiet. Then she looked up at me and said, "You know, sometimes I think about what would happen if I wasn't married to your brother." I froze. "Don't." She smirked, tilting her head. "Why not? It's just talk." "It's not just talk," I shot back. "You know exactly what you're doing." She sighed dramatically, like I was the unreasonable one. "You're right. I shouldn't say things like that." But the way she looked at me, eyes half-lidded, lips parted, it wasn't regret. It was bait. And I hated myself because a part of me did feel the pull. I mean, she's young, gorgeous, confident. She knows it too. But every time my brain slipped even a little, the thought of my brother slammed me back to reality. He trusted me. He trusted her. And I wasn't going to be the one to burn it all down. Except she didn't stop. The next escalation came out of nowhere. I was showering one evening, steam filling the bathroom, music playing faintly from my phone. Suddenly, knock knock. I shouted, "Occupied." But the door cracked open anyway. She leaned against the frame, casual as hell, holding a basket of laundry. "Relax, I'm not looking," she said, though her eyes didn't exactly match her words. "Get out." I snapped. She lingered a beat too long before closing the door. And through the blur of the glass, I swear I saw her smirk. When I confronted her later, she brushed it off. "What's the big deal? It's not like I haven't seen a naked body before." That's when I realized she was testing boundaries. Pushing them, one by one, waiting to see when I'd crack. And the worst part? Every time I pushed back, she'd spin it like I was the aggressor. "If you weren't into me, you wouldn't react so strongly." Or, "You're the one thinking dirty thoughts, not me." It was gaslighting, plain and simple. But I kept telling myself, stay calm. Keep the peace. Don't give her anything to hold against you. I didn't know then how wrong I was. Because she didn't need me to give her anything. She was already preparing her own weapon. And the night she finally used it, that's when everything shattered. I used to think I was handling it. Like if I kept my head down, stayed polite, brushed off her comments, then eventually my brother's apartment would be finished, she'd move out, and this nightmare would be over. But that's not how it went. Because I wasn't just playing around. She wasn't lonely or bored. She was something else entirely. A fire starter. And she was waiting for the right moment to set everything ablaze. It started small, with her phone. One evening I was in the kitchen again, scrolling through my own feed, when she plopped down beside me with a glass of wine. She leaned against me, too close, her perfume crawling under my skin. Then she tilted her phone toward me. "Look," she said. On the screen was a selfie, her, lying in my bed. My sheets. My pillow visible in the corner. She was fully clothed, but the way she posed made my stomach knot. "What the hell is this?" I asked. She grinned. "Relax. Just having fun." "That's not funny." "It will be," she said, locking her phone again. I should have grabbed the phone right then. I should have demanded she delete it. But I didn't. I just sat there, stunned, while she sipped her wine like she hadn't just crossed another line. And that was only the beginning. A few days later, she pulled another stunt. I came home from work, dropped my bag, and went to grab water from the fridge. On the counter was her phone, unlocked. Out of habit, my eyes flicked to the screen and my blood froze. It was a picture of me. Sleeping. I don't know when she took it. I don't know how I didn't wake up. But there I was, mouth slightly open, blanket half off, completely unaware. I backed away from the counter like the phone was a snake. She walked in just then, caught me staring. Her smile widened. "Cute, right? You look so innocent when you're out." My heart was hammering. "Delete it." "Maybe," she said, voice light. "Or maybe I'll keep it. Memories, you know?" That was the moment I realized she was collecting things. Pieces. Images. Situations she could twist later. And the scariest part? She wasn't hiding it. She wanted me to know. And then came the video. It was late. Kids asleep. I was in bed, trying to shut my brain off, when my phone buzzed. Notification from Telegram. A file. No caption. No explanation. I opened it. 30 seconds long. My kitchen. Me, standing there in sweatpants, pouring coffee. Anna walking up behind me, wrapping her arms around my waist like we were a couple. The camera was propped somewhere on the counter. You could clearly see both of us. The worst part? I hadn't even noticed her setting it up. I slammed the phone down, my chest on fire. What the hell was this? Before I could even process, another message came through. Imagine if Dee saw this. What would he think? My hands went cold. I typed back furiously, delete it. Now. She left me on read for 5 minutes. Then another text. Why should I? Unless, maybe you can give me a reason. That was the first time the word blackmail slammed into my head. I had been so focused on resisting temptation, on not betraying my brother, that I didn't realize she was building a completely different trap. This wasn't about attraction anymore. It was about control. And the sick thing? She was enjoying every second of it. When I woke up the next morning after that video, I told myself I'd confront her, lay down the law, and end this game once and for all. But when I walked into the kitchen, she was already there, making pancakes for the kids, humming some cheerful tune like nothing happened. She looked up, smiled at me, and said, "Sleep well," as if she hadn't sent me a video that could blow up my whole family. And that was the moment it hit me, she wasn't going to back down. She wanted me to know she held the strings now. She wanted me off balance, questioning every move, every word, because the more I stumbled, the more power she had. I waited until the kids were in their room, the dishes cleared, and it was just us. Delete it, I told her flatly. No emotion, just a command. She raised an eyebrow, leaned against the counter, and asked, "Delete what?" like I was crazy. I clenched my fists. You know what? The video. She smirked, crossed her arms, and tilted her head. Why would I do that? It's a nice memory. I felt the blood rush to my face. It's a lie. You're twisting things. If Dee ever saw it, she cut me off with a laugh, cold and sharp. Exactly. Imagine what he'd think. Imagine how fast he'd turn on you. She let that hang there, watching me squirm, before finally adding, "Unless, of course, I have a reason not to show him." That was the first time she said it outright, her demand. She didn't spell it out, not yet, but the implication was loud enough. I stared at her, trying to read her face, trying to see if she was bluffing. But she wasn't. She had all the confidence of someone who knew she was holding a loaded gun to my head, and she was enjoying every second of it. My instinct was to fight back, to threaten her, to say I'd tell Dee everything myself. But I couldn't. Because how do you explain something like that? Even if I told him, even if I swore on my life that nothing happened, the video would still exist. And once doubt sinks into someone's mind, it never fully leaves. She knew that. She was betting on it. For the next few days, she kept pushing. Little things. A touch on the arm that lingered too long. A whispered comment when no one else could hear. "Careful, you're sending me signals again." She'd smirk when I stiffened, like she was tallying up points in some invisible game. Every night I half expected another video, another photo, something worse. And every night, I lay awake, listening to the sound of her footsteps in the hall, wondering how much deeper this rabbit hole was about to go. But the worst moment came when my brother called. He was in Moscow, tired but cheerful, asking how things were going, thanking me for looking after his family. I had to stand there in the living room, phone pressed to my ear, while I sat on the couch a few feet away, smiling sweetly at me like butter wouldn't melt in her mouth. She knew. She knew I couldn't say a word. She mouthed silently, "Don't mess up." And I felt sick, because in that moment, I realized she wasn't just testing me anymore. She was in control. It happened on a Friday night. The kids were at their grandmother's for the weekend, which already made me nervous because that meant it would just be me and A in the apartment. I considered making an excuse to stay out late, maybe crash at a friend's place, but I didn't. I told myself I wasn't going to let her dictate my life, that I wasn't going to hide from her in my own home. That was a mistake. When I got back from work, she was already waiting in the kitchen, a bottle of wine open, 2 glasses on the table. The look on her face told me this wasn't just another night of subtle jabs and gaslighting, she had a plan. I didn't sit. I didn't touch the glass. "What do you want from me?" I asked. My voice was sharper than I meant, but I was exhausted, worn down from days of her games. She smiled, slow and deliberate, then took a sip before answering. "I want you to stop pretending. You want me, and I want you. So why are we torturing ourselves?" My stomach dropped. I shook my head. "No. That's not happening. You're my brother's wife." She leaned forward, her eyes locking on mine, and said in a voice low enough to make my skin crawl, "Then maybe I should send him the video. Maybe I should tell him how you touched me, how you looked at me, how you've been chasing me behind his back. Who do you think he'll believe? His wife or his little brother who's always lived in his shadow?" It felt like someone had poured ice water into my veins. She was twisting reality so smoothly, so convincingly, that I actually imagined how Dee would react if he saw that clip. He'd see her wrapping her arms around me, he'd see me not pulling away fast enough, and he'd believe her version of the story. That's all it would take, 30 seconds of manipulated footage and my entire relationship with him would be destroyed. She knew it. She was counting on it. I tried to keep my voice steady. "You're bluffing." She tilted her head, almost amused. "You really want to test me?" She picked up her phone and started scrolling casually, like she was seconds away from hitting send. My pulse skyrocketed. I pictured Dee's face, the disappointment, the betrayal, the disgust. The thought of losing him, of losing my family, made my chest hurt. And then she set the phone down and smiled, victorious. Good boy. You get it now. That night was the first time she said it out loud. Here's how it's going to work, she whispered, standing close enough that I could feel her breath on my neck. You stop fighting me. You stop pretending. You give me what I want, and the video stays between us. But if you keep resisting, then your brother gets to watch. She laughed softly, like it was the most reasonable deal in the world. I went to my room, slammed the door, and sat there for hours, staring at the ceiling. My heart wouldn't slow down. I kept replaying the moment in my head, her voice, her words. It wasn't a game anymore. It wasn't playful flirting, or teasing, or accidental touches. This was blackmail. A full-blown trap. And the terrifying part? I couldn't see a way out. The next day, I tried to avoid her completely. I left early, stayed out late, walked the city streets just to kill time, but the problem with avoiding someone who lives in your apartment is that eventually, you have to come back. And when I finally did, she was waiting. She always was. Sitting on the couch, legs crossed, scrolling her phone like she had all the time in the world. When I walked in, she didn't even look up. She just said, "You're late." I was getting worried. Should I tell Dee where you've been? The way she said it wasn't casual, it was a reminder. A threat. My throat went dry instantly. She didn't need to say more. She knew exactly how to keep me in line. That evening she pushed further. She followed me into the kitchen, leaning against the counter while I poured water. You know what I realized, she said softly. You're more fun when you're scared. I didn't answer. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction. But she stepped closer, close enough that I had to back into the fridge. She smiled, lifted her phone, and snapped a picture of us standing way too close together. My reflexes kicked in, I reached for the phone, but she yanked it away, laughing. Perfect, she whispered. Another memory for later. And then she added, almost sing-song, delete the video? No, I think I'll keep this one too. That was the first time I truly understood she wasn't bluffing. She wanted a collection, a gallery of leverage. And with every picture, every clip, every situation she twisted, she made me look guiltier and guiltier. It didn't matter that I never touched her. It didn't matter that I kept saying no. On camera, the angles, the timing, the framing, all of it could be edited into a story where I was the predator, and she was the victim. And once that story existed, how would I ever prove otherwise? Later that night, she cornered me in the hallway. No kids, no excuses, just the two of us. I want you to stop ignoring me, she said firmly, no more playful smirks, no more light teasing. Her eyes were sharp, deadly serious. You either start giving me what I want, or your brother gets every video, every picture, all at once. And when he asks me why I didn't tell him sooner, I'll cry, I'll say I was scared, that you pressured me. Do you think he'll believe you over me? I wanted to scream, to tell her to go to hell, to grab her phone and smash it against the wall. But I didn't. I couldn't. Because the image of Dee's face kept flashing in my mind, the betrayal, the anger, the disgust. And she was right. In that scenario, no one would believe me. She had me pinned. I locked myself in my room again, fists pressed against my forehead, trying to think. I could leave, I could run, but then what? She'd just send everything to Dee anyway. I could confront my brother, confess everything before she had the chance, but even then, the evidence would crush me. Every option led to ruin. And outside my door, I could hear her humming softly, pacing the hallway like a hunter circling her prey. That was the night I realized I wasn't just trapped. I was being broken down piece by piece. By the time the weekend ended, I was running on fumes. I couldn't eat properly, couldn't sleep without jolting awake at every creak of the floorboards. Even at work I was a wreck, constantly checking my phone, terrified that at any moment she'd decide to send everything to Dee just to watch me burn. That constant pressure wore me down more than I expected. Fear has a way of hollowing you out, making you too weak to resist when the final push comes. And I knew exactly when to push. It happened on a Sunday night. The kids were gone again, staying with their dad. I thought maybe I'd have some space to breathe. But when I got home, the lights were low, soft music was playing from her phone, and she was sitting on the couch in silk pajamas that looked more like lingerie than anything else. I froze in the doorway. She didn't even look up, just swirled a glass of wine and said, "Sit." Her voice wasn't playful anymore. It was a command. Against my better judgment, against every instinct screaming at me to leave, I sat down, because deep down, I knew what she was capable of if I didn't. She leaned closer, her perfume choking me, and whispered, "Do you really think you can keep saying no forever? You already belong to me. You just haven't admitted it yet." I muttered something about leaving, about going for a walk, but before I could stand up, she pulled out her phone and opened the gallery. The video of her hugging me in the kitchen played again on loop, her voice humming softly over the sound. "It only takes one click," she said, her thumb hovering over the screen. "One click, and your brother will hate you for the rest of his life." She paused the video, looked at me, and smirked. "Or, you can show me you understand how this works." I knew what she wanted, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. So I sat there, rigid, shaking my head, praying she'd let it go. Instead, she stood up, stepped in front of me, and guided my hand to her waist. My heart almost exploded out of my chest. I yanked my hand back immediately, but it was too late, she'd already snapped a picture. She held up the phone, victorious. Perfect. Now it really looks like you can't resist me. I lost it then. I stood up, grabbed her wrist, begged her to delete it. Please, this is insane. You're destroying everything. She just laughed, eyes gleaming with something close to triumph. I'm not destroying anything. I'm making sure you learn your place. You do what I want, and no one gets hurt. You fight me, and your brother sees everything. Simple. Then she whispered the words that would haunt me for weeks, this is just the beginning. That was her first real win. The first time she forced me into something physical, something she could frame however she wanted. I felt the ground shift under my feet because now she had more than just a staged hug or a sly photo. Now she had me, visibly touching her, frozen in time, undeniable on camera. And I realized with horror that even though I thought I was resisting, I was already losing. That night, I locked myself in my room again, but the damage was done. My hands were still trembling, my skin still burning where she'd pressed me into that scene. I kept asking myself the same question over and over, how do you fight someone who's willing to burn down the world just to get what she wants? The next week was hell. After that night, I couldn't look her in the eye without feeling like I'd already betrayed my brother. Every time she brushed past me, every time I heard her footsteps in the hall, it was like a reminder carved into my skull, she owns you now. I kept telling myself I'd find a way out, that maybe I could get into her phone, delete the files, end it all, but she guarded that thing like it was a weapon. Which, for me, it was. She carried it everywhere, even into the bathroom, never letting it leave her hand for more than a few seconds. And she always made sure I saw it, like a loaded gun tucked into her waistband. Then came the night she pushed further than ever. My brother had just called me, cheerful and tired as usual, thanking me again for being there for his family. I wanted to scream the truth into the phone, but instead I forced a smile into my voice and said everything was fine. When I hung up, I was standing in the doorway, arms folded, watching me with a look that chilled me to the bone. You really love him, don't you? She asked quietly. I nodded, not trusting my voice. She stepped closer. Good. Because that's exactly why you'll give me what I want. You wouldn't dare risk losing him. She didn't play games that night. No teasing, no smirking. She walked straight up to me, placed her phone on the table with the screen lit, the video of us playing in a loop, and said, it's time. My chest tightened. Time for what? I asked, though deep down I already knew. She leaned in so close her lips brushed my ear. For you to stop pretending. I want more than pictures. I want you. Right now. I shoved past her, panic tearing through me. No. This is insane. You're my brother's wife. I won't do this. She grabbed my arm, nails digging into my skin, and hissed, then I'll make sure he sees everything. I'll tell him you forced me, that you wouldn't take no for an answer. Who do you think he'll believe? His wife, crying, with a phone full of proof? Or his little brother who's always been jealous, always been in his shadow? Her words were knives, each one cutting deeper. I felt trapped in a nightmare. My head spun with images of Dee opening his messages, watching that video, hearing her fake sobs as she confessed what I'd done. It would destroy me. Not just me, our family, our bond, everything we'd ever built together as brothers. And she knew exactly how much that meant to me. That's why she chose this moment, right after he'd called, when his voice was still fresh in my memory. She wanted to twist the knife. I backed away, shaking my head over and over. I won't. I can't. She laughed then, not playful, but cruel, sharp, triumphant. Oh, you will. You're already halfway mine. You think you're resisting, but every day you sink deeper. You'll give in, and when you do, it won't just be because of me. It'll be because you're too scared to lose him. That night, I locked my door and pushed a chair against it, like a kid hiding from monsters. But the truth is, the monster wasn't outside, it was sitting in the next room, sipping wine, planning her next move. And I knew deep in my gut, sooner or later, she was going to win. Because she had already taken away the one thing I couldn't fight, my brother's trust. By this point I was living like a prisoner in my own apartment. Every time I left my room, I felt like I was stepping onto a battlefield. Every glance, every movement, every word could be turned against me. I barely ate. I barely slept. My brother kept calling, cheerful and tired as always, and every time his voice came through the phone it felt like a knife twisting deeper into me. He had no idea what was happening under his own roof, and I couldn't tell him. Because if I did, she'd flip the switch and send it all. The breaking point came on a stormy night. The rain was hammering against the windows, thunder shaking the walls, and I thought maybe, just maybe, the noise would drown out the silence between us. But silence wasn't her weapon tonight. She wanted more. I was in my room, headphones on, trying to block out the world, when the door suddenly burst open. She didn't knock. She didn't hesitate. She just walked in like she owned the place. I yanked off my headphones, furious. Get out! I shouted. She didn't flinch. Instead, she closed the door behind her, phone in her hand, screen already recording. My stomach dropped. What are you doing? I demanded, my voice breaking. She smiled slowly, predatorily, and said, making sure you finally stop running. She stepped closer, recording every second. If you push me away, I'll scream. The neighbors will hear. I'll cry. And this recording will show you putting your hands on me. Who do you think they'll believe? My hands trembled. Please, don't do this. She tilted her head, eyes gleaming in the dim light. Then don't make me. And then she dropped the phone onto the bed, still recording, and pressed herself against me. I froze, paralyzed between instinct and terror. If I shoved her off, I'd look like I was attacking. If I did nothing, I looked complicit. Every option ended with me branded guilty. She knew it, and she used it like a weapon. Her breath was hot against my neck as she whispered, "See? You're already mine." My whole body screamed at me to fight back, but my brain played the scenario on repeat: cops, my brother, my parents, everyone watching a video of me struggling with her while she cried on camera. The image was so clear, so damning, that I went still, my arms locked at my sides, my soul hollowing out in real time. She had broken me. After what felt like hours, but must have been minutes, she pulled away, picked up her phone, and stopped the recording. She looked at me, satisfied, like she had just won the final round of a game I never agreed to play. "That's better," she whispered, tucking the phone into her pocket. "You understand now. There's no escaping me. From now on, you'll do what I say." When she left the room, closing the door softly behind her, I collapsed onto the floor, shaking so hard I could barely breathe. I had thought I was resisting, holding my ground, keeping some shred of dignity. But that night proved the truth. I wasn't resisting at all. I was just delaying the inevitable. She had me, completely. And the worst part? I didn't know if I had the strength left to fight anymore. I thought the worst had already happened. That after she cornered me, after she forced that recording, I couldn't sink any lower. But life has a cruel way of showing you that rock bottom has a basement. And for me, that basement opened the night my brother finally came home. He'd been gone almost a month. Longer than usual. When he walked through the door, suitcase in hand, the kids running to hug him, I felt like I could breathe again for the first time in weeks. His presence always did that. He had this calm, steady energy that made the chaos settle. For a moment, I convinced myself she would stop now, that with him back, she wouldn't dare push further. God, how naive I was. Because that same night, while he was in the shower, she cornered me in the hallway with that same wicked smile. "You're quiet," she whispered. "Scared I'll tell him?" My hands clenched into fists. "Don't," I hissed. "Please, don't ruin him." She leaned in, eyes shining with cruel delight. "I already have." Then she slipped into their bedroom like nothing had happened. Hours later, I woke to shouting. My brother's voice. Her sobs. My chest went tight as I crept down the hallway. Through the crack of their door, I saw her on the bed, face buried in her hands, crying, while he stood over her, phone in his grip. My face stared back from the screen. The video. The photos. All of it. My blood turned to ice. She was sobbing, telling him I'd been harassing her for weeks, that she hadn't said anything because she was scared, that she didn't want to break us apart as brothers. She spun the story perfectly, every word rehearsed, every tear placed like a weapon. My brother's eyes were wide, dark, locked on me as I stood frozen in the doorway. "Is this true?" he demanded. His voice cracked like thunder. I tried to speak, but my throat closed up. "No, it's not," she's lying, but the words sounded weak, pathetic. Compared to her sobs, her shaking shoulders, I looked like the monster she painted me to be. And then she said the final blow: he tried to touch me. He wouldn't stop. I had to record it in case no one believed me. My brother's face, God, I'll never forget it. Betrayal, disgust, rage all twisted together. He didn't swing at me. He didn't scream again. He just looked at me like I was dead to him already. "Get out," he said coldly. "You're not my brother anymore." I wanted to fight, to tear the phone from her hands, to beg him to believe me. But I saw it in his eyes, the decision was made. She had won. She'd burned everything, and I was the ash left behind. So I left. I grabbed my jacket, stumbled out into the storm, rain drenching me as I realized my entire life had just been ripped apart in a single night. And here I am now, typing this on a throwaway account, wondering how the hell I got here. Wondering if there's any way to clear my name, or if I'll always be the villain in my own brother's story. Because the truth is, I never touched her. I never wanted this. But when someone like her decides to ruin you, when they've got the power, the lies, and the proof to back it up, you don't stand a chance. And the worst part? A piece of me still hears her voice whispering in the dark. "You're already mine." Top comments. You/truth hurts. Bro, I don't even know what to say. That's nightmare fuel. Honestly, once she started taking pics/videos without your consent, you should have gone to the police. You/throwaway bro, OP. I thought about it. But I was terrified. She had so much evidence against me, and I knew she'd flip the story in an instant. All it would take is one tearful lie and I'd be in cuffs. I panicked and froze. You/Reddit lawyer. This is a textbook case of manipulation and coercion. If you have any way of proving she blackmailed you, you need to act fast. Even text messages where she hints about sending the video could save you. You/throwaway bro, OP. She was careful. Most of the threats were face to face. But yeah, there are a few texts. Short, cryptic ones like maybe I should tell him or give me a reason. I didn't think they'd help, but now it's all I've got. You/family matters. I'm sorry, but your brother is a fool if he believes her over you without even giving you a chance to explain. That's not just her manipulation, that's his lack of trust too. You/throwaway bro, OP. That's the part that hurts the most. He's always been my hero. He trusted me with his family, and now he thinks I betrayed him in the worst way possible. I don't know if I'll ever get him back. You/dark reality check. OP, you need to move out ASAP. Put physical and emotional distance between you and that woman. Nothing good will come from staying anywhere near her. You/throwaway bro, OP. Already gone. I left that night with just my jacket. Haven't gone back since. I don't even want to breathe the same air as her anymore.